Welcome everybody to the SIG Network meeting for Thursday, June 10th. Bridget, you are go for issue triage.
Awesome. Let's take a quick look. We have one that was open just today. Test initial sync. Flaking. What do we think? Somebody want to jump on tests for initial sync?
Maybe we can look at it tomorrow. This looks like unless someone else who's deeper in this stuff wants to look at it. This is just a unit test flaking, right?
Perhaps.
Yeah, it looks like a unit test.
So yeah, we'll look at it tomorrow. What are you thinking? Go ahead.
I just had some context about when this showed up. So it was, I think, in my PR that I was trying to run the Prow jobs and it failed. And Ben created a bug to look into the flaky test. So it happened just like a few hours ago. But the following run passed. So yeah, it is mainly just, it's just a flaky test.
Okay. What, if anything, should we do with this issue?
Assigned to me. And
Right. Ooh, and we have a dual stack one. I think,
Bridget, this
yes.
is related to the issue that you opened. This is a person that is testing Dualstack, and he is finding several issues with the Dualstack conversion from single to dual and then back dual to single.
Awesome. And we
Okay,
already do have that on the agenda to talk about. And it looks like 2 minutes ago, Cal grabbed it.
I don't see an issue in what he's doing, really. It's like everything he's doing is supported. So I think that he's complaining that there are no errors during upgrade and downgrade. So I'm understanding.
I couldn't hear the end of that, Cal, but I think what you're saying is you're going to look into this and comment on the issue.
Yeah. Yes.
Awesome. Good enough. Ooh, our favorite SCTP. So for this particular one, Antonio, you've got.
I think that he's not understanding how he is assuming that he's going to bind something in the host, but it's forwarding. You can assign to me. I think that he's confused on how kubeproxy works, or maybe I'm okay. I can follow.
Or we're confused, or someone's confused. Okay, this particular one, it looked like it. Tim was saying that if we have to special case something, like you were talking about it together, and like basically my question for this one is, are we accepting triage? Are we triage accepting on this, or are we not sure yet if this belongs to us?
This isn't the agenda for today.
Oh, fantastic! Then I will just skip it. All right. And in this one, do we think this is even us? We've got talking about Nginx ingress controller. People thinking, is this SIG auto scaling, SIG triage?
I don't know what it is, but you can assign it to me, Bridget. That's ingress in Nginx, and I can take a look later.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Remind me of the spelling again.
Rikadz. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. We're just zipping through these. All right, for this one, it almost seemed like a support issue. Like they got some answers, and I'm kind of wondering what we do for, like, this person maybe is looking for support, but they don't have a bug. So what do we think of this one?
Yeah, I looked at this one and it seems it's perhaps they need to let us know about what CNI is implementing this network policy. And I guess if they have like a Calico, Cilium, or Entry, or any other CNI, then maybe they need to ask the community, because there's no implementation upstream. So
Yep. I mean, but also if we go up to the top, they have 2 from blocks, right?
Mhm.
And one of them is, oh, okay, but there's ports there too.
yes, I think there's a
Okay.
different port.
Yeah, I see that now. Okay. Yeah, I think you're totally right. It depends on what network plugin they're using.
Okay. So basically, do we want to ask a more explicit question? Maybe they don't understand that they need to clarify that.
I mean, honestly, I don't think this is an issue that we should deal with. It is a network plugin issue, and we should probably end up closing the issue. I don't know, maybe we want to let the person reply and then just be nice and follow it up and tell them where to go. So if they say Calico, point them at Casey. Just kidding. Ha ha ha.
I always like to just point them at running, just sonably run --e2e focus network policy. And then we will know whether their test, whether this works or not, right? The one-liner.
So am I hearing that I'm assigning this to Jay so he can talk to them about their confusion?
Sure.
I could, yeah. I was going to say you could just say that. I'll add that right now.
Is that's the correct handle, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Okay, cool.
All right. We've got CRI related questions. This person appears to have narrowed it down to what they think is a reproducible. It looks like they're moving their containerd around in the middle, which seems like a great way to stress test things. So yeah, what do we think?
Why is SIG Network this?
It looks like the reporting person themselves decided SIG Network is the place that they should ask questions about node CRI.
I see the SIG node and Paco Shu and the other person handling it.
Okay. Do you think I should remove SIG Network?
They have an assignee. I think we can. I didn't check in detail, but those persons are from SIG node and it's kubeproxy there. Okay.
Does this seem wait, is it network or SIG Network?
It's just network.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
This is the way to do it. All right.
Time check, 5 minutes left.
Awesome. More SCTP. This kind of seemed like a not yet triaged SCTP. People expect SCTP to believe or behave a certain way. Is this a reasonable expectation?
I think this is one we couldn't get an answer to last time.
Do we want to reply to the person and ask them? When you say we couldn't get, do you mean from the group?
Yeah, nobody here felt like they could really answer this question.
Do we know what proxy they're using? Or what load balancer they're using internally? Is it kubeproxy? Is it a different network plugin?
service, load balancer. Here we go.
Well, that doesn't tell
Don't
us
give
either.
us a lot of, yeah, they don't give us a lot of detail. Should I reply and just say, can we get more details about your proxy, load balancer, et cetera?
Yeah, I would ask. And you're, are they running kubeproxy? Are they running, what network plugin or what CNI plugin are they using? I mean, I'm going to assume that it's probably kubeproxy. And then, of course, what mode is it in? Did they choose IP tables or did they choose IPVS or what? But maybe that'll help direct the issue next time.
Good enough. This one looks like it got some discussion and someone was asking the person if we could close the issue because they found that workaround.
So what is SCTP used, honestly?
To make telcos happy?
Yes, telcos.
No, and is any cloud provider using it? It's just curiosity because recently we have 5 issues of SCTP.
Yeah, I mean, we hear from people who want to use it, but none of them seem to actually be using it. So I don't have good answers for you.
We did a bunch of work to make SCTP possible, but apparently it's weird in Linux. And, so like it kind of works the same as TCP, but kind of not. And I mean, from our point of view, and few of us have expertise enough to really plow ahead on issues like this. Yeah. This is a problem.
Yeah, that's my point. Is I never used an application or see. And the previous one was very specific about some protocol thing.
Can you scroll down just a bit, Bridget?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no, go up. Okay, Calico BGP is the CNI plugin. They're using the IP tables proxy mode. And Cube 118, I believe, is what they said above.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like this person found a temporary workaround for their problem, but maybe there's a broader docs issue here.
I think that what Lars commented, I don't know if this is, if we can have some person that give us some scenario or intuit test with some real SCTP use case, we can have more coverage. Because right now it's just SCTP ping pong.
Yeah. Well, it kind of sounds like this person has a use case.
Yeah, but I mean, someone has to have something that does more SCTP things than sending one packet to one place and to another. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, that would be a good start. Like we don't even have a beep test for SCTP. So, but like most contributors, like most bug filers, I expect this person to say, my problem is solved, I'm gone, right? Which is not an indictment of them, but it doesn't help us.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so we can go ahead and I was just gonna say, I think we can close this. I agree with Lars' comment here, but I don't have anything actionable else that we can do with this issue.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe kubeproxy gets fixed to set the SCTP timeout stuff as suggested there, but we would have no way to test that actually makes a difference.
And without comprehending what it actually means for other clients, we can't change this. Yep. We tried changing other TCP settings and we got those wrong too. So, and we all know TCP.
Okay, so the action here is to close this one and state, restate, yes, we would like, that.
And this will be our last issue. We will be moving on to KEP review now.
All right, I will close this and stop sharing.
All right, KEP review. I can share my screen and we can take a look. Let me attempt this. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Tim, did you want to drive KEP review?
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay? Sorry, I'm on a
Yep.
weird situation at home.
You're fine.
Yep, you're fine.
So what do we want to do on review? I mean, we can start going through the KEPs just to make sure that we're all aware of them, or I forget what the goal that we decided was. I mean,
we
I
wanted
did go
to know if there was going to be progress of any sort.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's look at the, let's skip the evaluated, not committed for now. Let's look at the pre-alphas. So graceful termination for external traffic policy. I know Andrew was working on that. Andrew, are you here?
Yep. Hi.
Do you know where we are with that? There's a PR for it, right?
Yes, I think it's just waiting for more reviews. I think there was, you had concerns about whether the amount of IP table rules we're adding is going to really impact performance. Just
that's right.
Not ready set. I think Antonio mentioned he might be doing some testing on that. I personally have not done like extensive testing to know like 100% if that performance penalty is going to be huge or not.
So I guess my biggest question is, this will cause extra IP tables rules to be written. Whether or not that makes a difference, I don't really know. The question I have is, does we have to do that, or is there a way that we could avoid those tables that are never jumped to?
Yeah, like I think the tricky part is like it's just the chain definition that is included for all endpoints, whether they're terminating or not, so that you can update the probability balance of the endpoint set to jump to that chain.
But we know that in the cases where we have local, they used to not be added at all because we know we can never jump to them. Now they're being added, but we still never jump to them. So I guess my question is it worth finding a way to just say, oh, this is never referenced, like let's just nix it?
Yeah, I think that the current implementation is based on like the flow of kubeproxy's code, where we don't actually know if it's local or ready or not until like way later. So I think if we reworked the code a bit, maybe we can change it so that we do a full evaluation of all the rules and whether it's local or not before we add the endpoint chains. So I think it's possible, but I think it's going to require some larger rework of the code.
Yeah. Okay. I'll make a pass through it again, and I'll think about whether the risk here is high enough to defer until we do that rework. Now that you've said it, it makes me really want to do it. I mean, I know that code needs cleanup anyway, so.
Yeah.
You can't see me because my camera's off, but I'm using quotey fingers for cleanup.
Yeah, and happy to do the refactor if we need to do it. Just
okay.
I'll just need a bit more time than a few weeks.
Okay. You want to flip back to the KEPs, the board?
Cluster scoped network policy.
Somebody want to speak to this?
Yeah, maybe I can say something. I pushed a commit yesterday based on some of the comments that seem to have some sort of fair agreement on, but there are wide topics that still have a lot of disagreement. And I think some of the use cases need to be reworded a bit to make sure that we are solving the correct, or we are actually capturing the correct intent. And for that, in the SIG Network Policy API repository, The team has pushed a few use cases as separate PRs, and we are reviewing them and trying to make sure that they align with the intention. And we would like to have the SIG network folks to come review those separate use cases so that we can hash them out separately and not intermix them. So once we are ready, I think we'll add you guys to the review list on there. And I think then we'll continue to work towards comments and try to address individual comments. But yeah, we as a team, I think we're continuing to work on these different points that have a lot of it's like a battleground, right?
Okay. So, sorry, I have to step away for a second. Part of the situation going on here. This sounds okay. I would just encourage you and everybody, make noise when you're ready for review. If something is sitting around waiting for review, that's a problem. But sometimes it just gets lost in the filters. So everybody, please jump up and down and wave your hands if you have something that's waiting for review. Dan, can I pass this back to you to keep going with KEP review? Sure. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay, next up, reworking kubeproxy's architecture. Anybody speak to that?
Quick question before we move on. For the two that we've already reviewed, can the person who updated us maybe put a comment on the one that they had open? Just so that like next time we look at it, we'll be like, oh yeah, we talked about this last time, blah, blah, blah. That was the current status, just like a one-liner. I feel like that would probably be helpful. Anyway, back to the next one.
Sorry, where do you want us to put a comment?
The one that was just open, like literally what we were just looking at.
Okay, on the issue. Okay, got it.
I feel like it would be valuable to say like, hey, we talked about this in KEP review at this date, and what we came up with is X. Just so that like next time when we're reviewing them, we'll be like, oh yeah, we said this last time.
Sounds good.
Okay, good point, Bridget. All right, reworking kubeproxy architecture.
I could speak to that. Yeah, we just kind of like play around with this every Friday. So we're kind of making some progress. We got we originally had NF tables. That's the thing that Mikhail made, and then Ricardo sort of put together an IPVS prototype, and then we merged that in like 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, and then the last week we built a bunch of automation and stuff around spinning up Ping instances with IPVS or NF tables, and documented some issues because like it's weird because NF tables fights with IP tables, and I don't really know why, but so there's some trickiness around there. So it's just like working out technical kinks and playing with it.
Do you have any immediate asks from SIG Network for this? Like, are there things that need a review?
No, we don't have any formal asks at all.
Okay, and I see there aren't any targets here either, so it looks like it's still kind of research and POC stage, right?
Oh yeah, totally. But if we do have the ask that if folks want to come and like help us, it would be really cool to have more people coming in. But yeah, for sure. Nothing formal from us.
Okay. I guess anybody else who is interested in making kubeproxy less of a dumping ground for stuff, please help out with that effort. All right, Services Cluster API and Node Port Allocations API. Antonio, is there anything that you need from SIG Network in general here?
No, this is a complex topic. I mean, I think that Tim, basically this is waiting for Tim. He's also doing he also wants to do a big refactor on the service cluster IP node port allocation.
Yeah, sorry, I'm back. This one in particular, I think, addresses a sort of architectural problem with the IP allocators. So I really do want to get it in. It's not urgent, like it's not on fire. but I do think I want it to go in if we can get it in. It is stuck on me. I know, Antonio, you sent me a repo that I'm supposed to go look at, and I just haven't had a chance. But, you know, other people are welcome to look too. It doesn't have to just be me.
So is that an accurate statement there? It's waiting on Tim or others to review Antonio's POC repo?
Yeah, and Antonio, correct me if I'm wrong. I think ultimately Daniel agreed, right? Daniel said, yeah, that model will probably work.
Yeah, I think that we push, after you push 30 times, he agreed. I don't think that he really knows what he agreed to, but
okay.
Yeah.
All right, but so that would be the ask, that we get some more review, or what do you need to move forward, Antonio, besides review from Tim or others? Anything?
It's a big change, and so a lot of things can go wrong. So, and this is an important architectural change. So reviews and ideas, but just trying to follow a bit the thread, because it's a long thread, and if I don't want to take the risk of starting over again, you know. So if somebody wants to chime in, just please read the history or ask me, and I can summarize, because we went through a lot of different approaches. But I mean, it's a really cool thing.
Remind me, this builds on top of my not quite completed REST refactoring? Okay.
I was trying to involve Carl, but I think that he doesn't want.
Okay, I think we should move on to the next one. We got a bunch of other agenda items, and we should probably time box our KEP review as well. Was there something else that you wanted to get out of the KEP review, Tim, besides just kind of a status and next steps on these?
Yeah, I have a question for one KEP, the one with the node IPAM. Node IPAM, sorry.
The multi-sider one?
Yeah, because I saw your email to the SIG architecture or SIG API, I don't remember. With the and what
about built-ins versus CRDs?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's an ongoing discussion about how to load CRDs, and I don't want to put too much pressure on the folks who are doing that work, but we do need to decide at some point whether this is going to be a CRD or a built-in type. It sounds like there's some reality creeping in that if we propose this as a built-in, it would probably be okay with folks like Clayton. So I feel like if I can get Clayton on our side, then we can get it as a built-in. But I do want to, I've spent a little time this week playing with CRD, the most recent CRD validation and stuff. And I want to see if it's possible to define the type as a CRD and still make the controller built in, like one step towards the goal. But that depends on being able to have a solution to the CRD loading problem. So if we can't crack this nut in the next, I don't know, couple of weeks, then we'll just move to make it a built-in and eat this one.
Tim, having a CRD, having a type as a CRD makes it editable, right? The definition itself is something that the end user can edit, the operator can edit. So
it is true.
It introduces a new failure modes where the user edits the type versus an internal type where the user cannot edit the definition of the type. So
it's true. I mean, that's true of every CRD, right? So we
but every CRD does not affect the core of the system, right? You can have a failure like that. The biggest failure that we had in CRD was early on, where you do a webhook against, instead of like partial webhook against a certain type, you do a webhook that fails, and it happened to be in the path of everything that essentially defuncted the cluster. But in our case, if you want to do a core type that is based on a CRD and then the user edits the CRD, our controllers now need to deal not only with just the validation piece, but also effectively the type itself.
It's a good point. It's something to think about. Yeah, it's true. It's a good point.
Not that I hate them, by the way. I like them. I like CRDs. It just the context matter. Just for the record, because I rant a lot about that. Anyway.
One of the ways we deal with that in OpenShift is that we have types that are CRDs that input to our operators, and the operators decide what actually makes it into the CRD that the rest of the cluster actually looks for. So there is like an additional layer of validation there. It's not a perfect fix, but it is one way to avoid that kind of thing.
Yeah, but OpenShift is also, you don't give people like managed OpenShift, you don't give people admin, right?
Yes, we also do RBAC type stuff to lock certain things down.
Yeah.
So, but we do need to move on.
So one of the things I know.
Go ahead, Tim.
I was just saying, we can finish that conversation.
Is Tim cutting out for everyone or just me?
Yeah, he said we can finish that conv, and then he stopped. So I guess
I think he has a contractor at home of some sort. So let's carry on.
Okay.
And then
yep.
If it's
all
important,
right.
we'll just
Bridget.
Yeah.
You are up for this issue, and that is Dualstack related,
awesome.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that's Dualstack related. The most recent update was 8 days ago. A lot of people weighed in, which I appreciate. And I wanted us to, because even though it's June and 1.23 seems far away, I also would like us to make a little progress here in terms of what do we want to do about this bug. So yeah, Cal, do you want to kind of summarize? What do you think we should do here?
Scroll up because I'm completely blank. I am.
Yeah, this is the preferred Dualstack repair loop stuff.
Yes.
Where we could upgrade.
Do we automatically upgrade services to Dualstack?
So the upgrade path is easy, right? The downgrade path is the one that really is funky, because right now you want to downgrade. What if you're downgrading a service that let's say a user created the alternative family first kind of service. So the cluster is IPv4 v6, but the service is IPv6 v4. How would you automatically downgrade that? You can't, because if you did that, the service is effectively non-functional. So that's the case I documented. That's mainly the case.
And there are other issues that the controller manager blows up with the, because the node has 2 pod siders.
Yeah.
I mean, dual to single is practically impossible.
Yes, single to dual is okay, right? Dual to single is something that we need to. The thing that I promised to look at, which was, can we test that? So the problem, the issue was discovered when a user batching a service, editing a label, for example, a preferred dual stack service, and then it gets automatically upgraded. That was the issue, all right? So I looked at the code. We can, in theory, look if the update is not touching the cluster IP related fields, as we call them, and we can have like, if not, then do not upgrade. But that's a way more complicated code that needs to go in. I'd rather not have it, really, all right? But it's not a hell I'm gonna die on. If this is the direction we want to have, like only upgrade when the user says like batch is one of the cluster IP related fields, in fact. But other than that, I think the consensus is around like documenting the behavior.
So there is another thing is, if your pods didn't restart, only have one. I mean, it can happen that your services were stuck and your pods are single stack. I don't see any way to provide, say your cluster goes from single to dual, perfect. my vote is for documenting. It is not.
I mean, documenting the current behavior. Sorry, can you guys hear me okay? Yes,
Yep.
no?
Yes, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
So documenting the current behavior seems like the worst answer because it's totally random what happens and when. Like, you just don't know. The next time you touch your service, you or anybody, right? You could be a label, it could be anything. You're going to get changed. Like, that seems like the worst option. So I think either we make it happen under a control that we understand, and we document the edge cases where we can't make it happen, or we do the gross work to make it not happen.
Yeah, but
And I go ahead.
No, finish.
No, that's it. I didn't have anything else. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, my question is, what is this something that we are worried? Because for me, it's kind of aesthetic. Because if you are using the cluster and you move to Dual, you also have to restart the pods for having endpoints in Dual. I mean, that we can fix the service thing, but you cannot be sure that the service is going to work.
No, you can't be sure, but you can't really be sure anyway, because they might have policy that says which pods get which families, right? So this is a place where Happy Eyeballs has to do its job, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, so we want to solve a problem. I have a preferred Dual, and without noticing, it's Dual. But that is going to happen with pods. So let's say that you have a preferred Dual and the service is Dual, but it's still single because the pods are still single. And suddenly somebody restart the pod and then it becomes Dual. That's the other dimension that I want to add to this problem. So the service without endpoints is useless. And then endpoints depends on the pods.
We know that a lot of, not a lot of, but some CNIs already assign 2 IPs. They just don't have a way to report it.
There's only one, it's Cilium. I can call it. Oh, yes, Calico does that as well. Yes.
So, most of the industry.
Yeah.
Between those two.
So I wanna ask a question, right? If let's say we get the code in that checks that, oh, they touched cluster IP fields, let's actually make it dual stack, right? For a preferred dual stack service. And we have that in place. How a user would upgrade a service, how a user can go and make sure that a preferred dual stack is actually dual stack.
They would have to add the second family to IP families.
We can't. Preferred dual stack, you cannot have two families. There's a validation for that.
Really?
Yep. Because if you say two families, it becomes dual stack. Yeah, we spend a lot of time on that one.
Huh.
Yes.
Well, it needs to be possible. It either needs to be automatic or possible to do manually, one or the other.
So it's either automatic or deterministically. Let me just rephrase what you said. What we're trying to stop is a user updating a label and then they get a second family automatically, right?
Correct.
All right. Let me respond to the issue Friday, tomorrow, right? I'll look again and see what I can do for that.
Okay.
However, we know for a fact that automatic downgrading is not going to happen.
That seems like a lot of landmines.
It could happen in some regards, but maybe we just don't want to.
It can happen partially.
Surprise. Do we want to surprise anyone? Just let them opt into doing things.
Yes, it's a lot of landmines, as you said, Dan. I agree, right?
Yeah. Okay, so Cal, you will take another look at this issue versus the
yes,
discussion we've just had?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Hopefully we can push that forward that way.
And let that be a warning for anybody who's trying to upgrade any API into the model we have, right? Those are edge cases that you need to take care of.
Let be a warning for all future generations. Some API changes come at too high a price.
Okay. Next up, in the 15 minutes we have left, Tim, you have network policy and quote unquote external traffic.
Why don't we push mine to next time?
Okay.
And I'll give the floor to somebody else.
Okay. Antonio, you're up with Cube networking model final approval for changes discussed in your document.
Well, Tim already gave the +1.
Oof, that's all we need.
Yeah. So is anybody wanting to rephrase or to amend the comments from Dan Winship and Tim to the network model? Or otherwise, I will take some time to do it. But if anybody wants to do that contribution.
Antonio, if I'm correct, what you're referring to the slides which are somewhat related to Tim's topic about the network model for host network and so on.
Right, and in the mailing list thread, there was two topics that we were discussing several times, and Tim, I don't see now. Tim and Dan Winship have some comments on how it should look like.
I think the main point was there was an implication that kubelet was always like a host network pod, but it turns out that that's not always true, and I don't think it needs to be true. And so based on that, we proposed some alternate wording. I mean, that's the long story short, right?
And the NAT thing.
Yep.
That we don't require.
Yes.
We don't require always without NAT for some
Right.
corner cases.
Yeah, I mean, can you see, am I still sharing my screen? Because I've got Dan's comment up and that tracks with what Tim was just saying.
Yep, we see it.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I would send a PR then for, I think that this is in docs, no? Where the network model is defined.
Yeah, it's in one of the docs somewhere. I forget which one.
Okay.
Antonio, this is Sanjeev. If some of this involves updating our definition of the Kubernetes network model, that's an area which I'm interested if I can help in some way in docs. I'm happy to do that. So I'll contact you offline.
Awesome. Thank you. Well.
Okay. Moving on to CRI API for network checks. Antonio again.
Okay, we talked about this in another SIG network meeting, and I don't think that this is something that we need urgently, but I see that we can have some benefit from it in the long term if we are. So basically, it's instead of the kubelet sending the TCP and HTTP probes to the pods, we add an API to the CRI, so these probes are executed directly from the container runtime in the pod namespace. I don't know. It solves two problems that we have now. One for the Dualstack probes, another for one security issue reported by one person from Istio. So I don't know.
I think it's an interesting idea. We have to, the biggest issue that I see is compatibility with folks who are using localhost today to mean the node. So at the very best, we'd have to special case that. Other than that, I could see this happening, but I don't know how big of a change it is in CRI, and I don't even know who to talk to around CRI at this point. So I tagged a few of the SIG node people. And I don't know how far up the priority list this one rises, honestly. Like, it sounds like it probably makes sense, but are we going to get attention from SIG node to help make that happen?
Well, it's a nice, I mean, we don't have any urgency. So I think that it's a nice project for if somebody wants to, to go deep into Kubernetes node and network.
I agree. I think it'd be a fun one to look at. And it'll cross a lot of components, and you get to make some changes to containerd and cryo and all the other ones.
I mean, I think that in the long term, I don't know Windows, but all these kata containers and all these things, they for sure are going to benefit in the long term of this. But it's a wild guess. So if there is no, my main question is if anybody sees some problem with that. If not, I will try to ask around to see if we can move forward with this.
Yeah, it also would be cool for, I think it'd be really cool to have this in containerd as well. It would make it a lot easier. Well, I mean, I think it would make the network policy stuff easier to reason about also. And then for alternate container runtimes and stuff, it would make it a lot easier to know what's going on.
For me, it's important because you have the probe is executed from the pod, so it really has the view of the pod. Right now it's from the kubelet.
Yeah, no, I think it's correct. I think it's probably the right way to do it. We have a compatibility problem and we have a practical getting it implemented problem. So that's all.
The only reason that it's there is for lifecycle stuff, like health checks. Is that the only reason why that networking rule exists, or is there some other reason?
I think that was the main one, because that's really all that kubelet does with those. And because kubelet was the thing doing it, that was one of the reasons why we had to or the biggest reason why we had to specify the kube networking model, as kubelet needs to be able to talk to all pods on its node in a given way.
Yeah, and if I recall, Mike at IBM they had some weird model where they were making that work through some extra agent, like it wasn't actually directly connectable. Right.
But Mike's cases had overlapping IPs in the cluster and like multi-tenant stuff. And so they had to be able to distinguish pods, even if two pods had the same IP address, and kubelet can't do that easily.
So like I said, I think this is probably a good idea in general. But I just don't, it's not getting done like today. So like keep it open for sure. Maybe give it a important long-term tag and see if anybody wants to help.
Is long-term long dash term or all one word?
All one word.
Okay. And is it actually slash important?
I took a shot.
It's priority, right? Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's
priority important dash long term. Okay. Wait. Triage accepted. Priority. Like that, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So in 5 minutes, last one we have is all ports support status. So Pramesh J, are you around?
Yep, I am.
Welcome.
And yeah, thank you. That might take more than 5 minutes, so I'll probably move it to the next one as well, but I can give a short update today. So
Yes,
this
please.
is about, yeah, thank you. So yeah, this is about the all port services cap that you're seeing right now. I made some slides as well to provide an update. So we had sent out a survey to users on the Kubernetes issue to get more idea about the use cases and also whether the approach we had discussed in the CAP would work. So I wanted to quickly go through those. Wait 1 second. Oh, okay. Looks like I cannot share the screen with somebody else's.
Yeah, I can stop sharing if you want to share yours.
Sure, yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, thank you. This one, yeah. So yeah, I'll jump right into the results that we got. I don't know why that tab
Your
is frozen.
screen
Is
share
it still
appeared to
sharing?
stop. It stopped sharing.
Okay, yeah, it froze for some reason. Okay.
All right, you're back.
Got it. Okay.
Maybe
But
just
I don't
reload.
seem to be able to select anything.
Yeah, it's still grayed out. Should we put this? Do you want to put a link for stuff you want us to look at to start?
There we go.
with?
We're good.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. The approach we had, we'll get to later. So anyway, the survey that we sent out was to identify what use cases folks were running into and whether the approach we were suggesting, which was like all ports would be specific only to headless services plus load balancer services, if that approach would be sufficient. And out of 17 responses, what we got was that 70% were okay with IP level load balancing, but a big percentage wanted support for both cluster IP as well as load balancer service. So just headless plus load balancer didn't seem to be enough. I just have more info about it. There were some use cases specified, but the details were not very clear, like why you want it for cluster IP. But here were some use cases: the SIP protocol, RTP, which we knew about before, WebRTC, which is like video conferencing, which is another use case we've heard about. Then there was FTP, video gaming, and there were also some about port remapping, which would essentially mean we do port ranges rather than the entire port range, entire valid port space, which is what the CAP was talking about or aiming to do. So these were some use cases, and the max number of ports, it seemed like 10 out of 17 wanted 10K or more ports. And what was somewhat surprising to me was that node port needed to be generated for each service in that port range, each port in the port range that was being exposed, which again won't be enough with the IP level load balancing we were talking about in the CAP. But it did say that the IP level load balancing would be sufficient for a big majority of the use cases. And I know we are out of time, but there were some answers for why this wouldn't work. So I tried to reason through why we could still make that work with the IP level of balancing that we were going towards. But anyway, after all these results, the one other thing was if we could just improve the UX and provide an easy way to translate a start and end port to just the whole spec, which again was not going to solve most of the use cases, a big percentage of the use cases. So I wanted to get thoughts on how we want to move this forward, given that headless plus load balancer service might not satisfy majority of use cases, plus it's also kind of tweaking around to find enough hoops in the validation to get it passed. So I was wondering if the next step we should be to explore relaxing the non-zero port requirement. This was not right in the service spec, and if we could release that in a feature gated and a cautious manner. The other options to create a brand new service type or introduce port ranges, it seemed like that my opinion was that we should probably move that to gateway L4 implementation than change service API so much. But yeah, that's I think kind of where we are, and I wanted to see if we can go ahead and if I should just rewrite the CAP to do the service port restriction relaxation approach. And I just wanted to also share the results we got.
So I think the interesting question to think about on this is, if we didn't have any restrictions and we were doing this sort of from scratch, what would we want the API to look like? And can we get even close to that? And I think the idea of relaxing the 0 ports requirement gets closest to that. But to do that, we'd have to be super, super careful, like you say, soaking it for several releases, because we have to wait till clients would have aged out, and we know that we have a version skew rule with respect to nodes. So like kube proxy we'd have to know that the oldest kube proxy understands no ports or whole IP services and won't crash, so that, you know, at the most it would be like a year of roll it out into alpha and just wait, and then we could at least say, well, the oldest kube proxy is safe.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I had also scanned the DNS, core DNS and kube DNS implementations. So those seem to handle the 0 port as well. But yeah, makes sense to keep it in alpha until the 2 version behind kubeproxy is able to pick up the 0 port array correctly.
The 0 port is a new service type.
No, I mean just like don't specify ports. Or specify a port where only the protocol is specified, not the port number, or something like that. Right? We can't do it strictly from compatibility reasons, like kube proxy indexes on the port number all over the place, right? So that would explode kube proxy today. But if we fixed it in kube proxy and then rolled it out and just waited until the version skew window matches, then, you know, a year from now we could have a discussion about actually moving to beta.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
I just realized the time. I didn't mean to keep the conversation going. Maybe we should revisit this next time.
Yep, we can put it on the list for next time as well.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, and with that, we are done. So thanks everybody, and see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks. See ya.